Chapter 8. The Silent Forest. It took much longer to get to the edge of the forest than Crysta had expected. A violent storm sent them scuttling for shelter. Batty thought they were going to be blown to pieces. "This is a master blaster!" he bleeped, hanging upside down on a branch, cocooned in his wings.
"It's only a thunderstorm,"
Crysta said, shivering and snuggling up against him. "It's trying to tell us something," stuttered Batty, peeping out from under his wing. "It's trying to blow us back to where we came from."
"It's only the wind devils, and they can't hurt us,"
Crysta told him, repeating what her grandfather had told her many times before.
"The wise beyond me lets the wind devils loose to clean up the forest and refreshen the air."
"Then why do they have to flatten everything?"
"They're only doing their job,"
she said, hoping she sounded more confident than she felt.
"Grandfather says that what's meant to grow, regrows."
"Fairy-bug, if this Beyond is so wise, then why doesn't he stop them going so wild?" asked Batty, wrapping his wings around her to protect her from heavy rain.
"Guess they're not called wind devils for nothing,"
she whispered. Crysta had never been out in a storm alone, and although she wasn't about to admit it, she was frightened. Just when they thought the wind was going to blow them out of the tree, there was a blinding flash of lightning, followed by a loud clap of thunder. The storm suddenly blew over. For a moment, all was quiet, and the only sign of the storm was the trail of destruction it had left behind. "I hate storms," shivered Batty. "Let's wing back to FernGully. I don't like it here."
"I think that's a good idea,"
said a soft voice.
"Who said that?"
asked Crysta, looking around.
"Me. And I'm right here under your nose,"
chuckled the whispery voice.
"Then come out, whoever you are."
"You don't like it when you can't see things your own way, do you?"
teased the voice.
"Remember, there's more to life than meets the eye."
"All I see is a soggy old tree," grunted Batty, drying his wings. "Let's hoon. This place gives me the creeps."
"You were pleased enough to find us when the storm hit,"
the voice said.
"Oh, Batty, I think it's the tree who's talking to us."
"Well, I'll be infrared. I didn't think they could."
"Everything living has something to say. And I can assure you, we're all alive and well in this grove."
Another tree rustled gently.
"We certainly are,"
whispered another.
"We're the talking trees,"
explained yet another.
"And we aren't called that for nothing."
"I've never seen trees like you before,"
said Crysta.
"That's because you live in the heart of the great forest, and we live on the edge."
They rustled.
"Is this the edge of the forest?"
asked Crysta excitedly.
"Almost.
The first tree swayed,
Not quite.
whispered another.
Let's say it's the end of the great forest,"
replied the first.
"You see beyond the plain of Xantthorhea, where the mountain stands tall, the forest starts again."
"That's where we're going, to Mount Warning."
No, 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 no!
Bleeped Batty. "This is the end of the web, fairy bug."
"Be careful,"
whispered the first tree.
The open plain is dangerous for one so small, and there are strange stories about the forest on the other side.
I'll be careful. Come on, Batty. We're almost there.
It's a waste of time, Fairy Bug, he replied, stubbornly refusing to leave the tree. I like it here. We should stay here.
Bye!
She called, flying away. Hey! Come back! He yelled, dropping off the branch and flapping after her.
Fractured fix, fairy bug, come on!
I vitally recommend a reassessment of your intentions, he bleeped, following her trail through the trees. I know heaps about humans. I could tell you more than you'd ever want to know. Have I shown you my tattoos? But Crysta was far too excited to slow down. Now, for the first time, there was no canopy overhead. The trees thinned rapidly as the land dropped away. Suddenly, Crysta and Batty burst into the dazzling sunlight. Wow! Cried Crysta, looking at the vast open plain of Xantthorhea stretching out before her. Beyond the plain towered the dark shape of Mount Warning. Sonic interference! Shrieked Batty, streaking back to the nearest tree.
Batty, come back!
Batty? Batty? Well, come on!
There's nothing to be afraid of. It isn't dangerous. It's just different.
My heart! Oh, my heart! I can't go on. Help me, my little wings can't make it.
But Batty was hanging upside down, well wrapped up in his wings.
What's wrong?
She asked, peeping inside them. I'm on gravity gross out. Do you think we could stop and rest for, say, about 10 years? He begged.
Maybe you should wait here for me.
This is a fabulous idea. I really think we should fly with that. Only, why don't you stay here with me?
It's okay, really. I'll be right back.
She said, disappearing into the bright sunlight.
Why do I not believe you?
In front of her stretched the plain of Xantthorhea.
If I can just get across the plain, I'll be alright,
she said to herself as she tried to judge the distance to the other side. But the whole world seemed to be spinning at a tremendous speed. Enormous clouds rolled across the sky at such a pace she felt she was flying backwards. She'd seen Xantthorhea before, scattered through the rainforest, but she'd never seen so many in one place. Some were short and stumpy, others were tall and straight, but all of them had a skirt of feathery grass around their rough black trunks. Out of the top of these trunks grew a single magnificent spear. She knew the Xantthorhea were ancient, and that they took hundreds and hundreds of years to grow just a little bit, but still, they never grew as tall as the trees in the forest. They were sometimes called grass trees, and as she heard their rustling skirts in the breeze, she wondered if they were talking to each other. Above her, billowing clouds rolled across the sky. Outside the protection of the forest, she knew she was taking a tremendous risk. With a shiver, she remembered how quickly that falcon had dropped out of a clear blue sky. When she flew over the pointed spears of the ancient Xantthorhea, she could hear they were chanting a song. It was an old song, older than they were. Once she heard Magiloon chant such a sound, and it had sounded like a warning. The further she flew across the plain, the louder the song became. Then, unexpectedly, a flock of birds in a terrible panic rushed towards her, sending her spinning.
Turn around!
Squawked a sulfur-crested cockatoo.
Fly for your life!
Screeched another.
What's happening?
She asked, but the frantic birds didn't stop to reply. She couldn't turn back. She'd already come too far, so she kept on flying. When she finally reached the forest at the foot of Mount Warning, she was exhausted. Her wings were beating so fast that at first she didn't notice the deadly silence. Mount Warning towered above her. A dark swirling mist covered its peak. She landed on the branch of a sturdy boxwood tree, and she was surprised to find no one in it. Looking around for some sign of life, she noticed that all the trees were marked with identical red X symbols. Placing her hand on the middle of one red mark, she was puzzled by the lack of feeling in the tree. She'd never felt a living tree so cold. When she pulled back her hand, she was shocked to see that it was dripping with a sticky blood-like resin. Cautiously, she fluttered from tree to tree, peeping around each one, looking for signs of life. She followed a muddy creek that twisted and turned through overhanging tunnels of lifeless trees. Rounding a bend, she came across the first ugly tree she'd ever seen. It was huge. It stood in a clearing all by itself. It was black, gnarled, and bent with age. Absolutely nothing grew around it. A cold wave of fear chilled her heart, and she knew at once she was staring at the Hex's tree. But when she tried to fly away, she found she couldn't move. Like the trees in the forest, she felt icy cold. She felt as though her life was being sapped out of her.